welcome back to my channel. So we have a white lady with this knowledge that she wants to share, or rather extended to white people. Interestingly, it's about how whiteness came about. And by the way, a shout out to Lee for this amazing video. She goes by the name Leaf Bay on TikTok, guys. Please feel free to check her out and give her some support. And let's get into the video.
Hello, white people. So I wanted to give you kind of a encapsulation of what white supremacy is and how powerful it is. And you can find that in the history of the Irish immigrants into the United States. So between 1845 and 1860, the Irish made up about a third of the immigrants into the U.S., and after 1860, it was more than half. Now, the reason they were coming over was because the Irish potato famine and years of incredible oppressive abuse by the English had reduced the Irish people to dire states of poverty and disease. So they came to the U.S. to escape essentially annihilation by the English. But they got here and they were undesirable immigrants. In fact, they were not considered white. And if you don't believe me, you can go check. But the Americans had taken the same attitude toward the Irish that the English had taken. They adopted the same prejudices. So what you have are a bunch of people who are despised and looked down on, and who are, within 20 to 30 years of their arrival, were offered an opportunity to become white by organizing against black people. Some of the most horrific abuses of black folks in free states in the North happened at the hands of Irish gangs and Irish militia. In fact, the Irish were encouraged to become neighborhood watch people in New York. For history, you can look at the movie Gangs in New York and see what that was about. And were systematically turned against ex-slaves and freed black folks because they were competing for a rung on the white supremacy ladder. So unfortunately, the Irish took to this to a degree that was astonishing and revolting. But through the oppression of black people, the Irish gained whiteness. And like I've said before, the promise of white supremacy is not that you're going to get rich or you're going to be wealthy or well off or do better. It's that you have an opportunity to do better. And Irish people bought that opportunity at the expense of black people's lives. So whiteness is a concept. It's not a race. It's an idea. It's a tool. It's a manipulation. And the sooner people who look like me realize that in America, the better. Hello, white people. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of whiteness being a construct and also a reality. Again, I'm going to go back in history, but believe me, this is all still very operative now. Prior to the construct of race in Europe, which is really where it originated, people thought of themselves as members of a group of people based in geography. So, for example, the Dutch thought of themselves as Dutch, Portuguese thought of themselves as Portuguese, and probably even more granularly than that. The Dutch didn't think of the Portuguese as white. They just thought of them as Portuguese and vice versa. So race comes alive as a justification for the enslavement of other people, mostly African people, probably in Portugal around the 1400s. Prior to that, it wasn't a helpful distinction to make. There were plenty of distinctions that people had that othered another group of people quite effectively. It wasn't until this conflict, essentially a moral conflict, came about around the enslavement of other people that a broader and more profound distinction had to be made. You can't, under Christianity, subjugate a group of people and be a good Christian unless those other people are not people. So the concept of whiteness as a virtuous and desirable and ineffable condition was created. And as a result, blackness was created and race was created. But it's a construct just like money is a construct, right? Like a dollar bill only has the value that we ascribe to it. Whiteness only has the value that is ascribed to it in this society. And unfortunately, the society has ascribed an incredible amount of value to that. Why? Because it benefits a large group of people, which in turn significantly benefits a much, much, much smaller group of people. So whiteness is not a thing. It's not it doesn't say anything about people. It's a skin tone. That's all it is. And there are thousands of skin tones, tens of thousands of skin tones. It's not a useful distinction to make to tell you anything about who you are or who anybody else is. Race is a construct. Whiteness is a dangerous construct.
Okay, so you know what they say about curiosity killing a rat. So guys, I decided to go on Google and do my own little research, and here is what I found out. Whiteness as a social identity formed in the colonial and post-colonial era. In the colonial era, social class was more important than race among white people. However, during the post-colonial era, social changes gave non-whites an opportunity to engage freely in the economy, and those changes economically threatened lower middle class white people. Okay, racism and socialization were required tools for distinguishing oneself from non-whites and preventing non-whites from utilizing their freedom for sustainable growth. Okay, so the opportunism for gaining an economic advantage motivated the lower and middle class white people to reproduce what whiteness can be in order to have a privileged lifestyle. Okay. And it was augmented and legitimized by the surviving plantation poggers class through social and psychological courtesies for further protecting their privileges. Okay. White race solidarity in upholding whiteness through centuries is one of the strongest and ever growing class collaboration seen in America, North America. Okay, guys, so that's what I had for you guys in today's video. Please let me know what you think about this entire video in the comment section below. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Turn on your notification bell so that every time I upload a new video, guys, you'll be notified. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.